Hello and welcome to another video in the Tech Workgroup Manager series. My name's Noel Bruton. There is a key tool that every service desk and help desk should be using, but very few of them do, and it really is a bit of a surprise. But this tool can make an enormous difference to important things like how many staff do I need and how much service is actually possible, and do I need for there to be a queue of people waiting to get answers from me. This video is all about that key tool. There's a perennial question that needs to be asked by any IT or tech support function, and that is, how many first line staff do I need? Well, the positive message is that it's calculable, but it's not a constant. For example, an awful lot of service desks and help desks are busier in the morning than they are in the afternoon, and you have to allow for that. And some days are busier than others. And of course, theoretically, because work is reactive, you can't predict when it's going to happen. You can. You just have to know a bit more about it. So a bit of history on IT's first line, just to see how we got here. Originally, IT's first line was called a help desk, and it was there to provide technical advice. Between 1997 and 2003, that idea began to be replaced by this concept of the one-stop shop for all arriving contacts with IT, whether these be technical or non-technical or even clerical. One place for all this stuff to arrive at. At the time, call centres were fashionable in business horizontally. They were turning up everywhere. The service desk emerged as an idea associated with one of the management frameworks that were also fashionable at the time. The service desk emerged as IT's call centre. They are in effect now conceptually obsolete, because lots of things have replaced them with things like automation and so on, but that's the subject of another video. However, the service desk idea means we must see IT first line as a call centre. It does operate as a problem solving resource as well, but fundamentally it was designed as a call centre, and because of that we can treat it as a call centre, because in call centres they've solved an awful lot of the problems that service desks are still struggling with. Let's look at the arriving workload, the inquiry arrival channels. These can be calls by telephone, of course. They can be arriving emails. They can be people walking up and just looking to talk to a technician. They can be chat channels. They can be social media. All of these can queue. The ones most likely to queue are arriving telephone calls. The more you can minimise that queue, the more satisfied customers you're likely to have. So queue management is essential. So then, how to handle that queue? Well, ideally we should be in a position to predict the workload, and that way we can start to anticipate where we should be putting our resources. Our primary data source for this is past enquiry quantities. Enquiries, not logged calls, because not everything gets logged. Quite often the majority of things don't get logged, so therefore it's not about requests logged, it's about calls arriving, because they're going to have to be handled whether they're logged or not, and we have to make a presumption that there's a lot of calls. And ideally the data that we gather should be broken down by time of day, because the number of calls arriving tends to be higher in the morning and lower in the afternoon, and there can be differences at lunchtime depending on the type of industry. So let's get this broken down by the time of day. There is a tool you can use which will help you to manage these quantities, well, to quantify them first, even by the time of day, and also then to predict where they're going, and it's Erlang C. This is a mathematical algorithm. It's named after Agner Krarup Erlang, a Danish mathematician, and it was designed originally to anticipate and equip for telephone traffic. It will answer the question how much traffic will cause a queue, and thereby will also answer the question how many reception points are needed. Now we're getting very close to the possibility of being able to predict how many first line staff we need and at what time of the day. So we can use Erlang C because it will give us the likelihood that an arriving telephone caller will have to queue. And that's essential to the design of a good service desk or help desk. There's two ways of doing it. The hard way, which is here described by Wikipedia, thank you very much Wikipedia, is Erlang's original calculation as seen here as a formula, where A is the total traffic offered in units of Erlangs, N is the number of receivers, and PW is the probability that a customer has to wait for service. And you could calculate that out. On the other hand, the easy way is to get an Erlang C calculator, and the one I use is CC Modeler, which is by Cool Tools in Australia. It's a very fine tool, and you can see how it would work. Look at the three boxes there: calls, service level, and the number of agents required, and the queue statistics. And you can see how you might be able to adjust an anticipated delay and what effect that will have on the number of people that you need and how many calls you'll be able to take. And you can use different types of calls for different times of the day, because you don't have to do this because this is broken down by hour, for example, and it will tell you everything you need to know about staffing your first line. There are several Erlang C calculators available. Online tools, there are plenty of those, but there is of course a privacy question there. You're giving away statistics about how many people are calling you. Be careful. I still prefer Cool Tools because it's an application, it's not online. It works out cause and effect. It can be used for what if capacity prediction. It's free, although there is a paid version available with several further features. The advanced version helps with rota planning, for example, so it does the job. Think more broadly, however. Because Erlang C handles queues, it's not just for incoming telephone calls. Any similar workload arriving in clusters, like walk-ups, clinics, emails, chat, wherever these are done, including for example in second line support groups, it can be used there too. Erlang C is a killer tool for reactive support. And one last point, I've not been paid to advertise cooltools.com here. I'm just telling you about it because I've found it incredibly useful, and I'm sure you will too.